Good afternoon. This is Hood River White Salmon Bridge Authority, and we are back in open session. Did I check the boxes? All right. And what we are looking to do is continue some discussion about a future test pile program adjacent to the bridge.
We can finish the co-appraisal.
Yeah. You want to finish the other? Okay.
We take quick action on that.
Okay. I'm sorry. We did have a discussion on property on the Washington side, and we do want to take a resolution on that.
I move that we authorize staff to do an appraisal of the co-property.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. And then would you like to continue our discussion on the pile program and the...
Do we need to back up a little bit since we're
I think we've kind of articulated the issues that we've got a capital insurance concern as we do that, and then we have a liability concern, both of which could be mitigated.
Yeah, so maybe we back up just a little bit. Test pile program, we would like to do to make sure that as we drive piles for trestles and temporary work, we're not hurting the current bridge foundations. We've got a combination of both a test pile program and a bridge monitoring system that would be used in conjunction to make sure that we're not impacting the current bridge. Doing so now allows us, if there is a problem, we've got time to redesign prior to being in construction in October 27. That's the reason for talking about this today. There's an issue that was brought up by Kiewit, who is our proposed contractor to do the test pile program, that they are concerned with liability insurance on both damaging the current bridge as well as a liability should somebody get hurt on the bridge. So we need to talk about how do we get the right amount of coverage for this particular operation. We need to talk about it now because we want, schedule-wise, we want to be in the water doing this test pile program this next window, which is October of 2027.
All right, thank you, Mike. Anybody else want to add to that discussion?
I have a question about it. So is it the Port of Hood River still has funds that were directed to this project through ARPA? Is there any possible avenue where the port contracts the Kiewit directly to investigate whether or not the current bridge is subject, could potentially be at risk during construction, and that that we kind of sidestep this issue as as an authority, since we're not set up to do construction activities at this point. We don't have Tort Claims Act coverage, and we don't have general liability insurance or
So to me, that's one solution. There's still an open issue with insurance coverage by Kiewit themselves. Now that would have to be an agreement between Kiewit and the port. And then the other issue is the port developing a contract with Kiewit for this. Are we willing to front that cost of development of that?
They have to go through a procurement process to secure. I mean, they don't have a mechanism to directly contract with Kiewit.
I think those circumstances may allow them to directly contract with the Kiewit because
Well, they did. I mean, the issue open the discussion with the port.
Project.
Explain what we're trying to. Open the discussion with the port. Explain what we're trying to accomplish, and let them start to analyze what it would take to get there. What Ben suggested is certainly sounds like a possible place to start, but they may have other ideas, and It's the fact that the port needs to protect the existing bridge against outside forces for the foreseeable future is something that they understand. And this is something that may be happening, and it's in their interest to protect the bridge against the construction of a new bridge. So getting their thinking about what process, what they need to have in place to keep the current bridge safe is something that's reasonable.
It's the
I
opportunity.
think the first question they're gonna have is, who's paying for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are. I mean, if it could fit into the ARPA budget, I mean, we're going to pay for it one way or the other, right? I mean, like, we're not asking the port to come up with any of the money. It would just be, could it be, rather than coming through the bridge authority, could it be a port activity?
Because it's to protect the current bridge.
Yeah.
There is a capacity in ARPA money to do it.
So, but I don't know now.
I mean, I don't know, maybe there's reason not to do it, but
The opportunity is that we have a window to see how the 100-year-old structure is going to react to something that we're doing around it. And we've got a lot of people that have a vested interest in that. So how best do we get at
We have to
that?
start talking to the port because they're smart
Yeah.
people and they know what they have.
Yeah.
We don't know what abilities and structures.
what's the scope of the project if we were going to close the bridge? I mean, what's the length of time? And
That's part of what will be in the test pile program plan that they're developing is how many piles they want to do, how often, how many closures would we need to do, when would we want to do the closures. I don't think we can fit the total cost of it in the ARPA funds. It's going to be more than $2 million. It'll be more than $5 million to do this.
Oh, let's not get bogged down in contractual, I know, fees, or let's figure out what we need to do and how we're going to do it. And then we'll figure out how to
authorize Mike to start talking to the port about this.
yeah. I mean, I think whether or not it's there are people on the bridge or not, I think that we have liability associated with this that, could come back to the authority that we need to really seriously consider protecting for.
Yeah. We've had some early conversations with Scott about it, so we need to go back to him on that and see.
And that's what Mark and Kinnan will advise us on, right?
Yeah.
But to start with, talk to the port, see what they can do, what creative thoughts Kevin can come up with, and then go from there.
Is there any chance of getting it in the Oregon session? That getting
We're going to in 27, but we'll have done the test pile program before they get done with session.
Don't we have a short summer session? No, it's included.
Yeah.
It's already done.
Okay.
So first step is talking to the port, let everybody get their head around what the issues are. And there's several. They're kind of down different lanes.
The alternative is we don't do a test bore and create this danger during the construction project.
Yeah. We've got 400 workers out there ready to go.
Yeah. We'll have,
Not only that,
I get it, but we will have protection by then. Hopefully the Tort Claims Act changes will have happened for us by then.
the other issue though is if we don't do this test pile program, your lump sum cost that you're going to get from Kiewit will probably be inflated because of this risk that they're going to take on.
Everything will just be more variable.
Catherine?
And sorry, I'm just repeating back just what I'm understanding. And I don't believe any. So the problem is the insurance. Is that correct? And who is taking on the risk? Is that like bottom line up front? Is that okay? And we can't take on the risk because we don't have the right insurance because we're not in construction.
Yeah, because the tort limitation that helps the port, we don't have that limitation on us, correct?
Not yet. And we're looking to get that in the next long section.
Yeah, but by the time.
I got it. I'm explaining the problem. Right.
And there's timing issue. There's three parties that would need insurance. Kiewit would, the port needs to have some, and the authority's going to need some,
right,
depending on how this is structured. This is all three will be a party to to do it.
And to be fair, this is all contingency if something does go wrong, not
Correct.
that it will.
Right, that's
So
what
my
insurance
just
is all about.
question is, it doesn't seem like we have enough information to move to speaking with the port, because it sounds like we have more questions than answers just from my, so I again just would hesitate for us to now involve port staff and port commissioners unless we have an actual ask or a solution to a problem, because the port has bridge insurance and has current limits that is all public understanding. There needs to be coordination, but again, my hesitation is we're putting the cart before the horse, and we as commissioners are getting into the weeds about stuff that might not, unless I'm missing something. It just doesn't seem like we have an actual ask for the port yet. And I just, when we go to them, we want to make sure that all the ducks are in the row, in my opinion.
I think we do have an ask, Catherine.
Okay, that would be.
So here's, first I would start by saying, port staff, port commissioners, we have been investigating the process of doing these test pilings in order to reduce the risk during the construction of this bridge. And we determined, or we've learned, that this process itself of doing test pilings could in fact damage the bridge, much lower likelihood of that than of the latter, former, whichever. So we realize that we don't want to do this without you understanding. And we also have to figure out what actions can be taken to reduce liability for you and for us and for the community as a whole. We know that you know more about how the bridge is insured and how the bridge is run than we do. So that's why we're involving you in this discussion. Can you, port staff, start to look into this and identify whether there are any paths that you can help us establish that could provide the risk mitigation that's necessary for us to go forward with this project, which is intended as risk mitigation itself. So that's what I'd say. And Jake Edwards has an idea.
Go ahead, Jake.
Just a question. Why are we doing this now? Like, is the reason for doing test pilings now to save money as opposed to doing it later in the process? Or is there another reason that this needs to happen?
Jake, I think there's two reasons to do it now. Number one, if we find that we've got a problem with the piles, we have time to redesign the temporary structures before it impacts in-water work in October of 27. That's number one. Number two, by understanding and doing a test pile program now, before we sign a contract with Kiewit, I think you're going to see that we've de-risked the Kiewit contract, and we should see a reduced price because of this.
Two good reasons.
I think they're great reasons. I think my concern is that seems like we can't really mitigate the potential pitfalls of proceeding though. So like, is the juice worth the squeeze? I don't know.
I think it is. I think you're talking significant amount of money that we de-risk from construction. Assuming that this goes fine and we don't have to redesign, that should give Kiewit the confidence in their schedule and pound away.
I think if the risk is still out there after we start construction and we have a problem, that's a whole lot more dollars once we've already started than it would be if we identify it early. So I think it's only an upside if you do it now. It may cost you some money, but it's saving you a whole lot of money on the back end if you find out you got to do something different.
You're talking design delay costs versus construction delay costs, which will be millions of dollars a day for every day you sit and wait to figure this out.
Yeah, you're impacting a couple million a month versus $15 to $20 million a month once you're into construction.
Can I ask you a question? Mark and Kinnan, what's your perspective on the liability piece of this? Like for if the bridge authority were to get commercial insurance, what level do you feel like we would need, or would you still would you advise us in any way regarding kind of where we're at without the tort claims coverage, looking at an activity like this?
So I have 2 points. The first I wanted to make is I think it's worth engaging the port just to say we're going to be doing this program, and the likelihood that we have a liability event is much lower if we coordinate our schedules. Now, whether that means shutting down the bridge or coordinating the schedules, but ensuring that the testing program takes place at a time when you don't have maximum traffic on the bridge, right? That just seems to make common sense that we would coordinate in that regard. In terms of how much liability coverage, I'm not. That's really an insurance consultant matter. But I can tell you that it's probably something that's not on the port's radar. So it's not something that if we try and engage them in, that they will be. They don't have the same problem that we have because they're protected under state law by a cap on the amount that they would have to pay out for any accident that takes place if the bridge were to be damaged during the test program and injure somebody. We do not have that state protection. So we're kind of going that alone. We kind of have to find that out on our own. But I think in conjunction with Kiewit, who also is not protected, we can approach the insurance piece, and in conjunction with the port, we can mitigate the potential liability by working with them on managing the operations during this testing period.
Go ahead. We just a reminder, we had a IGA with the Port of Hood River when we were working on the bridge monitoring stuff to be installed. So that the IGA addressed what insurance requirement they require for the contractors to have when they're working on the bridge. This is a
we've had,
scale.
Exactly, Tehi. We've entered into these types of negotiations with the port before and reached satisfactory conclusions. So I think that we have a good basis for moving forward on this. I don't think this is a tough ask. I think it's common sense.
Okay. So, if you're going to take the next step to
We will
at
start,
least daylight the issue.
we will start conversations with the port.
Okay. Right. I think that gets us all the way through the meeting. I am going to adjourn unless there is any objection. We'll call our meeting for May 27th over. Next meeting, Monday, June 8th, 2 to 4. Same place. Thank you very much.